Good morning, everybody. It's another bright, beautiful, gorgeous morning on Fruit Avenue, and hopefully where you are too. See back there? There's the sun shining through the leaves and in my eyes a little bit too. But hey, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Last week we dealt with a text from Matthew in which Jesus was in Caesarea Philippi, and he had asked his disciples who he was. And of course, I think you all remember, good old Peter stood up and said, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Jesus gave him a slap on the back and said, "Good old boy, Peter, you got it, babes." Well, he didn't say it that way, but basically he said, "Yep, you're right." And Peter, because now I'm calling you Peter, not Simon anymore, you're going to be called Peter. On this rock, I will build my church. And I'm giving you the keys of the kingdom. Aha. So, all right, we had that passage. Peter got it right. He got it right. But now, just moments later, he gets it all wrong. It says from that time, Jesus began to teach them. So we're not sure how many hours, days, weeks, whatever passed, but he began to teach them how he had to go to Jerusalem and there suffer many things and be put to death. And that's when we have that very, very famous passage in Scripture in which Peter says, "Oh, no way. God forbid it. It's not happening to you." And Jesus turns to Peter and says, "Get behind me, Satan, because you're a stumbling block to me. You want your way, not God's way." Get behind me, Satan. Wow. Peter, who was just lifted up as the rock on which Jesus would build his church. Well, some people say it was his confession on which Jesus would build the church. There's some nuance there that we're not really quite sure of, and maybe it's both, because it would be Peter who would go on and give that first sermon that brought in all those new believers. But get behind me, Satan. Get behind me, Satan. This kind of sounds a little bit like the temptation in the wilderness. Remember, after Jesus was baptized, he went out into the wilderness and he was tempted by Satan. As he was tempted by Satan, Jesus reached back into Scripture and pulled out Scripture and threw it right back in his face. Is Peter playing the role of Satan? I mean, Jesus called him Satan. Satan literally means adversary, anyone who's opposed to the will of God. But is Jesus saying you're Satan? Well, in a sense, yes, if you're opposed to the will of God. But there's one big difference here, and I think it's important, and it's a neat thing to see. It's what actually happens in the Greek that we lose when we translate it into any variety of English translations. Jesus told Satan in the wilderness after his baptism, "Go away, Satan." What did he tell Peter? Get behind me, Satan. He didn't say go away. He said get behind me. Now this is where it's really neat. The words used for get behind me are the same words used for a disciple. Because literally it is follow me. Whoa. Wait a minute. What's that all about? You're yelling at Peter, calling him Satan, and you're saying follow me? That's right. Because Peter, you are a disciple. And a disciple literally means a learner. You're still learning. You still don't have it 100%. And I'm going to continue to teach you what it means that I have to go to Jerusalem and suffer many things and die. See, Peter wasn't tossed out on his head by Jesus. Peter was just told to get in line. Get behind me. I'm the teacher. You're the disciple. Learn from me. Don't be surprised if from time to time Jesus tells you and tells me, get behind me, Satan. Get behind me, Rodney. Get behind me. Put your name in there. We are Jesus' disciples. And I do think there are times he's got to put us in line too. Just a cool thought that comes from this passage. It's so much more than Jesus just giving Peter a tongue lashing. He's also reaching out to Peter saying, you belong to me. You are my disciple. Just learn your place. Get in line. Follow me. God's blessings be with you on this grand and glorious day. It is so cool out this morning. I was almost tempted to put on my hoodie today, but it's still August, and it's still going to get hot. So I resisted temptation. Get behind me, hoodie. God's blessings be with you.